Here, we'll work with calligraphic brushes. Calligraphic brushes resemble strokes drawn with the angled point of a calligraphic pen. Calligraphic brushes are defined by an elliptical shape whose center follows the path. First, I'll go to Window and down to Brushes to open up the Brushes panel. And I want to make sure that the list view is showing. And I want to deselect everything that is not a calligraphic brush so that we just have our calligraphic brushes in the panel. So I have to keep going back to deselect the ones that I don't want. So now I have all my calligraphic brushes there, and I want to select one of the curved pink paths. I'll get my selection tool. And just select one of those curved pink paths. And to make it easier to select the others, I'll go up to Select, down to Same, and over to Stroke Color. And now all of those pink strokes are selected. Now I'm going to select the 40-point flat brush in the Brushes panel to apply it to the pink paths. And there you can see how they've changed. And you can note how the calligraphic pen looks. I'm going to change the stroke weight to 3 points. I'll have to open up my Properties panel. So I'll change the stroke weight to 3 points. And I'll change the stroke color to white. And now I'll reduce the opacity to 20%. So now we've got some kind of waves of air, I guess those are supposed to be, I'm not sure. But you can see how those add a nice decorative touch there. Now we'll work with drawing with the paintbrush tool. And the paintbrush tool allows us to apply a brush as we would paint. Painting with the paintbrush tool creates vector paths that we can still edit with the paintbrush tool or other drawing tools. So I'm going to select the paintbrush tool in the Tools panel, and I'll click the Brush Libraries menu button at the bottom of the Brushes panel. I'm going to go to Artistic and over to Artistic Calligraphic. And another Brushes panel opens up. And I want to click the brush name 15-point flat to add it to the Brushes panel. I'll click the panel menu and choose List View. You can see there are quite a few brushes there. And I want the 15-point flat brush. So all I have to do is click it, and it adds it to the main Brushes panel. And there you can see it in the main brushes panel. I want to make sure that the fill color is none, and I'm going to change the stroke color to the water swatch. So I'll click the stroke color. That will bring up the swatches panel, and I'll find the swatch that says water. And it's this light one on the second row. Now that I've changed the stroke color, I'll increase the opacity to 100%. Then with the paintbrush tool, I'll move over to my artwork, and when I see an asterisk next to the paintbrush tool, that means I can paint a new path. And I'm just going to click, hold, and drag a few paths in the water area to indicate maybe some waves. So I'll click, hold, and drag a few paths. And you can see how they create the appearance of some ripples in the water. Now once I've drawn my paths with the paintbrush tool, I can still go back and edit them. If I don't happen to like the way they look, I'll just get the selection tool and I'll click to select one of the paths I just drew. So there I've selected the path. I'll go back to the paintbrush tool and I'll move my cursor over that path, the selected path, and when the asterisk disappears, that means I can redraw the path. So I'll just click, hold, and drag, and you can see how it changed the direction of the path. Now I'll hold down the Control key or the Command key on a Mac to toggle to the Selection tool, and I'll click another one of the curved paths, and when I release the key, that will return me to the paintbrush tool, and I'll redraw that path. So even after I draw the paintbrush strokes, I can still edit the path. Now I'm going to double click the paintbrush tool to bring up some options. And I want to check make sure that the fidelity is all the way over to smooth. And I'm going to check the keep selected box. And then I'll click OK. Now I'll change the stroke weight to 2 points, and I'll paint a few more paths in the water area. And notice how after I draw the stroke, it still remains selected, and that can be helpful in redrawing that path. You don't have to go back and change tools to select the stroke. So I'll just go back to the last stroke I painted and change the way that looks. So it's a nice option to have if you like that. I'll double click the paintbrush tool again and deselect keep selected. So now when I draw a path, it will not remain selected. We can also edit how our brushes look. So I'm going to double click the 15-point flat brush in the brushes panel, and that will open up a dialog box. I'll change the name to 20-point angled. And I'll change the angle to 20 degrees. And just to the right, I'll choose Fixed from the menu. I'll leave the roundness at 0%, and I'll change the size to 20 points. And then I'll click OK. Now I get a message about leaving the strokes that I've already painted. I can apply the new paintbrush to the strokes, or I can leave the strokes as they are, which is what I want to do. So I'll choose Leave Strokes so they don't change with the new brush. We can also remove a brush stroke applied to a path. I'll get my selection tool and click the purple path with the purple stroke. I don't really like that brush stroke. I'll leave the stroke there, but I'll just remove the brush stroke. So I'll select it, and I'll click the Remove Brush Stroke button at the bottom of the Brushes panel. And the stroke still stays there. Now I want to change the stroke weight on that path to 10 points. So there we've worked with calligraphic brushes. We've created some interesting effects with that calligraphic brush.